In the previous chapter, Jiang Ping was transported to a new world. There he gained a skill allowing him to create a contract gem to control anyone who agrees to consume it. But no one would actually be willing to become a mindless puppet, so he consumed the gem himself, becoming both the contractor and contract beast. Unexpectedly, this unlocked a powerful ability, enabling him to command his body to perform tasks automatically, such as executing martial arts techniques perfectly without prior knowledge. Despite this newfound power, his plans were disrupted when he discovered that monsters, perfectly disguised as humans, had infiltrated his school. Even the teachers were monsters. Immediately, he sought help from his childhood friend, who had knowledge of countering the monsters' illusions, but she had also been replaced by these monsters. In fact, everyone in the patrol team had been replaced, but this revelation did not deter him. Instead, it fueled his determination to avenge her. He vowed to eradicate the monsters and began rigorous training. During his training, he found a mysterious ring and learned of others secretly fighting these monsters. But the ring was a trap set by the foxes to lure out members of this unknown group. And now Jiang Ping is the one who is being targeted by these monsters. Now on to the next part. The opponents entered Jiang Ping's room, encircling him with predatory smiles. They were eager to test whether he was truly the high-level individual they suspected. Charging up their attack, they aimed to obliterate him in one strike. But to their astonishment, even as their attack hovered mere inches from his face, Jiang Ping remained in a deep, untroubled sleep, completely oblivious to the danger. There was no sign of awareness or fear, not a flicker of response, which made the intruders doubt he was the one who had taken the ring. If he had, he wouldn't be sleeping so peacefully. He would have detected the danger and fought for his life. Moreover, the leader of the foxes couldn't sense the presence of the ring anywhere in the room, which further convinced her that they had the wrong person. And so she retracted her claws, and signaling her subordinates to stand down. But this decision puzzled and frustrated them, especially since they had been certain that Jiang Ping's the one who did it. Since he usually go for a morning run every day, but he didn't go today, indicating that something was amiss. But Mommy Fox doesn't like that attitude, especially when she had already made her verdict. So it seems like her subordinates are getting a little too comfortable around her. And so she looks at them with her deathly eyes and cleared up to them that she already decided that this trash isn't a threat. And he only started doing his morning exercise a week ago. And judging from human nature, most of them usually tend to be inspired to do something, but just relatively give up later and go back to lazing around in their comfort zone. This one is nothing more than useless food, and they do not waste resources on such trivial beings. And if any of them question her judgment again, she will make them her next meal. And her threat hung heavy in the air, her subordinates bowing quickly in obedience, promising not to challenge her authority again. As the foxes retreated, Jiang Ping slowly began to regain consciousness. He felt the room clear of their oppressive presence and knew they were gone. He then cautiously spat out the ring he had hidden in his mouth and gasped for breath. The experience had been harrowing, and his heart pounded in his chest. But he was thankful to be alive. His gamble had paid off. He knows he can't outrun the foxes with his level, but by using his unique ability to force himself into a convincing sleep, he had managed to fool the foxes into thinking he was uninvolved with the ring. But reflecting on the recent events, Jiang Ping recalled hearing Su Jingyao's voice, which bummed him out. But he quickly decided to dismiss it as just an illusion, a trick his mind played to cope with the situation. And he couldn't afford to let his emotions cloud his judgment or interfere with his quest for revenge. And therefore he resolved to suppress his feelings in order to focus solely on becoming stronger to avenge Su Jingyao. But he knew he had to be cautious with his training to avoid arousing the monstrous fox's suspicions. So he will have to pretend to live his daily routine as usual for now. And so he did just that. He went to the cafeteria for breakfast like nothing happened. And there he overheard a shocking rumor. The patrol team had found a body chopped in half near the school. The corpse belonged to the infamous Black Death Star, Pearl City's most feared assassin, who had once severely injured the previous city lord. This news intrigued Jiang Ping, as he speculated that the man in white, the owner of the ring, might have been the Black Death Star. And if even the city's top killer was defeated so easily, it emphasized the terrifying strength of the fox disguised as Lu Xiu. And the public display of the body suggested the killer was not a human murderer, but a member of a secret organization opposing the foxes. This gruesome act was likely meant to send a message and provoke a response from their opponents. And Jiang Ping couldn't have that, as this secret organization might be his only hope for eradicating the monsters. So he felt the need to warn them about the true nature of their enemy and their plans. But before that, these two forces is definitely on high alert, so he needed to ensure his own safety by finding equipment to defend himself. With this in mind, after his classes ended, he decided to go straight to the market area in search of a blacksmith shop. Upon arrival, he discovered that the most popular smithy was also run by foxes. But seeing that this one is just a lowly level fox, he seized the opportunity to use his appraisal skill. His initial attempts failed, but his persistence paid off when his appraisal skill leveled up after 100 uses. His elementary grade skill was promoted to an intermediate level. With this upgrade, Zhang Ping could now identify the growth value of his opponents, and the blacksmith he is looking now has a growth value of a true side character. No future to grow stronger at all, but his level is at 15, still surpassing his own. So he concluded that it's better to leave this place before this fox gets suspicious of him, and just focus on his priority, and that is to find another store not controlled by the monsters. A few moments had passed, and Zhang Ping arrived at the second smithy, and it seems like there was a commotion going on inside of it, and so he decided to investigate. As he drew closer, he saw a hustler bullying a defenseless old man, waving a sword around as if it were a luxury item the old man desperately needed to buy. The hustler even offered a discount due to the old man's appearance. Talk about the disrespect. But the old G knows what is what. He had been in the game longer than this scammer, so he played along, pretending to misunderstand while casually blowing smoke into the hustler's face in a display of subtle defiance. And this quickly enraged the blondie, and like a true scammer would, he began to lash out at his victim, berating him for his supposed incompetence. Luckily, before the situation could escalate further, Zhang decided to intervene. He stepped forward, took the weapon from the hustler, and used his appraisal skill. To his surprise, the sword was more worthless than he had anticipated. Not only was its quality mediocre, but it had also been broken and poorly repaired, rendering it utterly useless. And seeing Zhang Ping's reaction, the blondie knew the jig is up, so he tried to snatch the weapon back. But in his haste, he snapped the already fragile sword in two. Still, the blondie got that victim mentality on his bloodstream, and was desperate to salvage his reputation, so he immediately blamed Zhang Ping for what happened to the weapon, while he tries to paint himself as the good guy in the situation. And now that he was morally standing in high ground, he vowed to teach Zhang Ping a lesson to not ever mess with the direct disciple of Master Ma, of the Xingyi martial arts school, because they will taste the Ma Xingyi's special. The blondie proceeded to rush to Zhang Ping half-naked, bouncing off the walls with incredible speed to confuse him. After that, multiple afterimages appeared around Zhang Ping, creating an illusion that he would attack him from all angles. But unfortunately for him, Zhang Ping has the appraisal skill locked in already. He quickly knew who the real blondie was, and so he got to easily bitch slap him right back to reality. And the blondie, stunned and humiliated, but still accused Zhang Ping of lacking martial ethics. It seems like this guy isn't right in the head, and so Zhang Ping appraised his conditions. To his surprise, this fool actually has a useless ability. So that explains why this guy thought he was cooking right now. Because his martial arts skill allows him to use any move, and they all come with strong special effects, but only the user can see them. And even excessive use of this skill will immerse the user in their own world and be unable to extricate himself from the world. This skill is like Demon Slayer from Wish. And seeing this made Zhang Ping a little bit sorry for this fool. It seems like he was also scammed by this Master Ma guy, and so Zhang Ping turned his back, deeming the blondie no longer a threat. But this trash doesn't know when to give up and seized the moment to launch a sneak attack. And so he got another set of beating from Zhang Ping. And with this, the blondie now lay on the floor, defeated, his reputation shattered and his ego stripped away from him. Meanwhile, the old man sat casually, seemingly unbothered by the chaos unfolding in front of him. Nothing could stop him from having a good time. He was chilling as he hit that Zaza for the 100th time. Unexpectedly, another person appeared, visibly irritated by the commotion at her shop. She had only been away for a short while and returned to find a half-naked pervert sprawled in front of her place. And so she promptly addressed this blondie, asking if he wanted to leave on his own accord or if she needed to assist him with a lift, which by all means I'm into that shit, guilty of charge, but I digress. The blondie recognizing the threat, he immediately bolted tail between his legs. Meanwhile, Zhang Ping, having completed his intervention, was about to leave as well, when the red-haired woman stepped into his path and commanded him to stay. She wanted to have a chat, and my boy said say less, but he would like to know what she wanted to discuss so he could prepare himself mentally. And so the red-haired woman got straight to the point. She introduced herself as a woman struggling to survive each day while caring for her uncle, who had become confused and despondent after his daughter disappeared. Spotting a healthy, capable man like Zhang Ping, she saw an opportunity she couldn't pass up. And this immediately made Zhang Ping hot. Well, who could blame him though? But reality rarely meets expectations, and this one is not one of them. As Red Hair was actually talking about having him work as a blacksmith in her smithy. She needed someone to help take care of her uncle and assist with running the store. And of course the position came with food, accommodation, and a salary for legal reasons. Zhang Ping was immediately sold on the idea, Not because a soft melon was pressing onto his face, no, but because learning the blacksmithing skill would save him a lot of money on equipment in the future. Moreover, the shop's modest appearance suggested it was less likely to be targeted by the foxes anytime soon. With this, he eagerly expressed his agreement and how he is fully motivated to become the blacksmith king, which immediately delighted her and so gave him a hearty pat on the back, unintentionally decreasing his health to 1 as her hands weighted so damn much for being a blacksmith after all. It seems that his days at the smithy would be a long and arduous experience alongside this redhead. A few days later, the smithy was bustling with more activity ever since Zhang Ping's arrival, and it seems like they are getting a lot heated up in there, as Zhang Ping was drenched in sweat, visibly nervous, asking Sister Q, the red-haired woman, if what they are doing is okay, to which she assured him that it was and encouraged him to continue. Now hold your horses, and they are just deep into blacksmith training, and Sister Chu was teaching Zhang Ping their exclusive technique, the dough mix forge edition. This method required the blacksmith to knead the materials like dough, ensuring a thorough combination of ingredients. And seeing that Zhang Ping was getting the hang of it, Sister Q decided to leave him to fetch the mold from the warehouse. Before departing, she reminded him to use the fuel in the nearby bucket and to keep the fire burning. And Zhang Ping acknowledged her instructions but grew puzzled when he saw 2 barrels of materials beside the forge. But as the fire began to die down, he hurried to prevent it from going out. He tossed the material into the furnace and added fuel. Suddenly, the smithy erupted in a fiery explosion. It was so sudden that Zhang Ping thought he had met his demise, and was now at the afterlife once more. To his astonishment, one of his latent abilities activated. A mark on his chest glowed, absorbing the heat that would have incinerated him, and directly channeled it into his system. When the fire cleared, Zhang Ping found himself unharmed, which confused him at first, but the pain in his chest reminded him of what had occurred, confirming it wasn't a hallucination. With this, he quickly used his appraisal skill on himself, and surprisingly enough, his growth value had increased again, prompting him to deduce that this was due to unlocking a new ability. But what's even more astonishing was the realization that he could now use his growth value to upgrade his existing talents. This meant that as long as he continued awakening new abilities, his growth potential was virtually limitless. This was an incredible advantage, as growth value was typically fixed at birth, making Zhang Ping an extraordinary exception. And his newly unlocked talent, the Fire Eater, was far from useless either, as it allows him to convert fire elemental energy by swallowing flames and storing the energy within his body. This energy could then be released at will until the storage was depleted. But having said that, Zhang Ping had already reached level 3 this morning and consumed level 3 gems. So the question now is why the gems' effects had triggered so late. The only possible reason he could think of is that his abilities required specific opportunities to unlock their potential. And if that were the case, he needed to be mindful of when to devour these contract gems. But before he could delve further into his thoughts, Sister Chu returned to the forge, and seeing the mess, she rushed over to Zhang Ping with a worried expression, and asked if he had thrown the red snake scale into the furnace. If he had, then he might have been injured by the explosion it caused, and she felt responsible for not informing him sooner. But her worries subsided upon seeing Zhang Ping unharmed. She sighed in relief and reassured him not to feel sorry for the mess, as his health was more important. As long as he was fine, everything was okay. But the question now was, how did he put out the fire so suddenly, as the flames ignited by the red snake scale were notoriously difficult to extinguish. But Zhang Ping couldn't really share such information, and so he was looking for words to divert the conversation. Fortunately, Sister Chu's attention was caught by the material he had created. Its appearance suggested that the components had blended exceptionally well, a result that required extremely high temperatures. With this, she wasted no time in placing the material into a mold, and commended Zhang Ping for his talent. She remarked that his school must have made a mistake, as his current performance was more than sufficient to enter one of the 3 major organizations. Speaking of which, Zhang Ping asked Sister Chu about these 3 organizations. Everyone referred to the patrol team and the investigation team as the 3 major organizations, but he had never heard the name of the third, so he wondered if it even existed, which Sister Chu confirmed its existence, but explained that no one knew its name or activities, as it operated entirely out of the public eye. But enough with the small talk. She had heard he was here to buy some equipment, so if he doesn't mind at all, she offers him this blade they just made. And just by looking at it, Zhang Ping could tell it was expensive. Inspecting its stats, he was shocked to find it exceeded his expectations, as it was capable of inflicting significant damage on intermediate-level beasts, prompting him to ask Sister Chu how much this would cost, which she revealed that based on market price of the material, it was worth 100,000. This immediately shocked Zhang Ping, because that amount of money is like a 3-year salary for him. So naturally, he hesitated to accept such an expensive gift. But Sister Q insisted he take it as a reward for his fast progress. And now that was settled. She tries to excuse herself as she had tasks to attend to. But before that, she asked if it was really okay for a student like him to not return to school. Jiang Ping reassured her, explaining he had already completed his graduation procedures in advance, which delighted her as she got to leave the place without worry. And with that, Jiang Ping was left in charge of the shop. But that being said, even if this blacksmith shop isn't really popular, with the loud commotion he had just done, it would inevitably attract the attention of the foxes, and he can't let the people in here to be transformed into one. And so he decided to use his Nightcrawler skill to patrol its surrounding area after dark. A few moments later, night had fallen, and Jiang Ping found himself outside of the abandoned building and stumbled upon a girl playing quietly. But this was no ordinary girl. She was a fox monster. Surprisingly, this was the first time Jiang Ping had encountered a monster at such a low level, the same level as himself. But unlike her, he was equipped with powerful gear, which gave him a sense of confidence that he could win this battle, and he knew he couldn't let this opportunity slip by. As the little fox had a growth rate of 4 stars, indicating that she would become a significant threat if left unchecked. Moreover, this might be his only chance to expose the terrifying creatures lurking in the city. If he could present the body of this monster fox to an official, it might attract the attention of the higher-ups. And although the city patrol team was completely occupied by monsters, he was still clinging to hope that the investigation team outside the city had not been compromised, and he could bring the corpse there. With this in mind, Jiang Ping prepared to strike, but before he could even move, ice began to materialize on his arm, freezing him in place. Then a wave of massive killing intent washed over him, paralyzing him with fear, while a voice commanded him to remain still and demanded to know if he was planning to attack a child.